This is my special topics presentation for SOCI 354 by Kaylee Pinones, entitled, Does Parental Incarceration Disadvantage Children? Parental incarceration refers to the removal and imprisonment of a parent for an extended amount of time, either in jail or prison. It is important to note that the amount of children with incarcerated parents is steadily increasing. Mass incarceration plays a direct role in the rising amount of children with incarcerated parents. For instance, according to Martin in 2017, beginning in the 1970s, there were around 340,000 Americans incarcerated. Today, there are approximately 2.3 million. This results in increasing numbers of children with incarcerated parents, which constitutes one of the largest at-risk populations in the United States, as asserted by Miller in 2006. Therefore, I believe parental incarceration is important to study because of the consequences for children, the invisible victims of incarcerated parents, in terms of their life outcomes. In my presentation, I argue that the children of incarcerated parents have a disadvantage in the social academic settings and private personal well-being spheres of society relative to children without incarcerated parents. This is done in the following ways. First, children of incarcerated parents experience maladjustment and long-term psychological effects or immediate neurophysiological effects. Second, children of incarcerated parents are more vulnerable to forms of social exclusion. Lastly, children of incarcerated parents experience low levels of early educational preparedness, which impacts possibilities of future educational attainment. Children of incarcerated parents experience maladjustment and long-term psychological effects or immediate neurophysiological effects. In research conducted by Kampner in 1995, almost 30 children who witnessed their mother's arrest were interviewed. It was hypothesized that the combination of parent-child separation and forced silence about the incarcerated parents due to potential shame on the family would increase trauma in children. What Kampner found is presented in this pie chart. 75% of the children in the study group reported symptoms characterized as trauma-related stress. Symptoms included difficulty sleeping, concentrating, and having signs of depression. Let's look closer at how the experience of maladjustment disadvantages the children of incarcerated parents. According to Miller, children of incarcerated parents have greater difficulty in completing developmental tasks. This includes difficulty in forming attachments, developing trust, autonomy, initiative, productivity, and achieving a sense of identity. Thus, these children are seemingly delayed in their life outcomes as a result of their traumatic experiences. What we also know from Miller is that the experience of maladjustment increases the acquisition of certain maladaptive behaviors. Such behaviors consist of withdrawing emotionally in school, increased truancy rates, pregnancy, drug abuse, diminished academic performance, and disruptive behavior. With that said, since children of incarcerated parents acquire such maladaptive behaviors, these behaviors directly influence their future educational outcomes and engagement. In fact, as asserted by Cochran, Seenick, and Mears in 2018, the children of incarcerated parents are less likely to participate in school clubs and/or have more trouble at school with teachers. Children of incarcerated parents are vulnerable to forms of social exclusion. Cochran et al. Conducted research on over 11,681 youth with and without incarcerated parents across 132 schools. They examined data from the National Study of Adolescent to Adult Health, which consisted of in-home survey interviews and in-school surveys. They asked child respondents to nominate up to 5 of their male friends and 5 of their female friends from their school rosters. Cochran et al. Found peer relationship outcomes indicate that youth with an incarcerated parent have overall more limited peer networks. Furthermore, parental incarceration was found to be linked to fewer friendship nominations received, 4.02 for children with incarcerated parents versus 4.50 for children without incarcerated parents, and fewer friendship nominations made, 3.95 for children with incarcerated parents versus 4.46 for children without incarcerated parents. These findings are shown in the bar graph on the right-hand side, with blue representing the children with incarcerated parents and green representing the children without incarcerated parents. Parental incarceration appears to be associated with substantial differences across social outcomes, indicating overall greater social exclusion for those youth during adolescence. When looking closer at how the experiences of social exclusion disadvantage children of incarcerated parents, we can see that, according to Cochran et al., social exclusion may harm social networks and the types of friends in which these children associate with. Additionally, social exclusion causes children of incarcerated parents to feel as if they are marginalized within society. Miller asserted that this can cause them to form ties with peers that are involved in gang activity or peers that exhibit delinquent behavior. Subsequently, this puts them at higher risk for intergenerational incarceration. This is extremely significant. In fact, further research indicates how the children of incarcerated parents are 6 times more likely to become incarcerated themselves as adults. This is explained by Friedrich in 2017. Children of incarcerated parents experience low levels of early educational preparedness, which impacts possibilities of future educational attainment. Haskins conducted a study in 2014 on almost 5,000 children and their parents. This included both parents that are incarcerated and not incarcerated. She examined data from the Fragile Families and Child Well-Being Study, which is a longitudinal birth cohort study. This data consisted of both interviews of parents and in-home assessments of children. From this, Haskins found a statistically significant relationship for boys' likelihood of receiving special education services by age 9 when having a parent that is incarcerated prior to the age of 5. It is important to look at how low levels of educational preparedness disadvantage the children of incarcerated parents. According to Miller, children of incarcerated parents may encounter cognitive delays, developmental regression, and inappropriate coping strategies. Thus, emotional trauma inflicted from the arrest of a parent at a young age can diminish children's cognitive productivity and thus hinder future educational attainment. Moreover, referring to Nichols, Loper, and Meyer in 2015, parental incarceration is an indicator for decreased educational engagement and decreased academic success across the lifetime. Hence, children of incarcerated parents are disadvantaged in the private sphere as well as the public sphere of society. The emotional trauma they endure from the absence of parental ties serve to inhibit their academic achievements and their chances of social mobility. This is best explained by Haskins, as she asserted how the negative effect on non-cognitive school readiness is a way that mass incarceration creates intergenerational educational disadvantages. Now, let's shift our focus to how parental incarceration and its impact on children are being discussed in the media. I first found an article written by Wong in 2015 which asserted how children of incarcerated parents face intersecting categories of disadvantage, but appear to be most disadvantaged in their academic outcomes. Wong suggests, ultimately, the researchers conclude the harm associated with parental incarceration can compound the already difficult circumstances of children, a reality that's particularly evident in their schooling. Another article, written by Taylor in 2018, contends that the children of incarcerated parents are confronted with direct health consequences. When discussing how a number of children in the Philadelphia area are developing chronic health problems, Taylor asserts the public health crisis all these children share, having a parent in prison. With that said, Taylor seems to attribute this public health crisis as directly impacting a child's life outcomes, namely, children falling behind in academic settings. In fact, Taylor notes, in effect, whenever a parent goes to prison, it's a double sentence. The adult is behind bars, and the child falls behind in school and life. So, Is the media accurate? Is what is being written about parental incarceration and its disadvantages for children in the public and private spheres of society the same as what we know academically? This seems to be mixed. In one respect, both the academic research and the articles written by Wong and Taylor seem to line up, in that they both report that parental incarceration causes children to experience maladjustment and thus impacts their future educational and life outcomes. But that does not mean that all media is presenting what we know academically. The article written by Taylor ignores the aspect of how children of incarcerated parents experience social exclusion, stemming from societal stigmas which portray those who are incarcerated or the children of those who are incarcerated as morally deviant. This is very different than the research presented by Cochrane et al., Miller, or from Friedrich. So here, what is being presented in the media does not agree with academic research. I argue that the media in some ways has adopted certain aspects of academic research pertaining to parental incarceration and its disadvantages on children in the public and private spheres in society. Majority of the time, the media does accurately report how children of incarcerated parents are disadvantaged, not because these children face social exclusion, but rather because they are maladjusted and thus have diminished educational and life outcomes. So, why isn't the media calling out the experiences of social exclusion in which directly disadvantage the children of incarcerated parents, relative to that of children without incarcerated parents? Why isn't the media calling out the role that social exclusion plays within a child's life outcomes and educational outcomes? Could this be because society wants to maintain the stigma in which marginalizes those who have incarcerated parents or are incarcerated? Children of incarcerated parents have been socially labeled as deviant, and thus it is assumed that they too will become a criminal, just as their parents. Those that are incarcerated have always been a target of public scrutiny and shame within society.